Okay, so here we are finding the corresponding angle if the terminal point is by t, determined by t, is -1/2 the square root of 3 over 2. So the first thing we need to do is figure out what quadrant it is. Well, I know that my x value here is negative and my y is positive. So when I look at my unit circle, I know that in quadrant 2, I have a negative x value and a positive y value. And I also know that this terminal point, when I look at my unit circle, the pi, since the square root of 3 is the second part, I know that that's going to be pi over 3. So when I'm looking at for pi over 3, I need to figure out what it is in quadrant 2. So in quadrant 2, I know that my pi over 3 is actually going to be 2 pi over 3. So this would be my angle, and I could call my angle is equal to 2 pi over 3. I can also say it's determined by t, whichever way you care to label it. And that it would be my radians. But if I want to find it in degrees, I just need to multiply by my, since I'm going from radians to degrees, I need to multiply by 180 over pi. So I could also find that my angle is 2 pi over 3 times 180 degrees over pi. So my pi's will cancel, and I know that 3 goes into 180 60 times, so my angle would be 120 degrees. So this would be my angle in radians, and this is my angle in degrees. So depending on what your question is asking for. Now the next thing is to figure out which quadrant a terminal point is in. So if I look at cotangent t is greater than 0, that means it's positive. I know that cotangent is positive in quadrant 1 and quadrant 3, where my x and y are either both positive or both negative. And cosine t is less than 0, which means it's negative. It is when the x values are negative, so it's going to be in quadrant 2 and quadrant 3. So if I look at where these two overlap, the terminal point would be in quadrant 3 because that is where both values land, where my cotangent is positive and my cosine is negative.